Welcome to this Thursday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham and Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio this morning. We'll look at some lines for the weekend, the college football slate that is upon us this Saturday. Ole Miss off, as you know, prior to the Egg Bowl next Thursday night in Starkville for that one. Jeffrey Wright will join us here in a little bit. Plenty of news going on with Memphis basketball, the Rebels and the Tigers, Saturday at noon from FedEx Forum. James Wiseman will not be on the court for that one. It was kind of expected anyway, but the NCAA coming out yesterday saying he's got to sit 11 more games for the stuff going on in the Bluff City, just north of us. So we'll talk to Jeffrey about that and probably a little bit more as well as we get started this morning with the Oxford Exxon Podcast, brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West. And you know that you use your game ticket for basketball. It's a coupon. Go to the Oxford Crystal. It's next door to the Oxford Exxon on Highway 6. $150 off a steamer pack or a sack full there with the Oxford Crystal, the Oxford Exxon, and more. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's that simple. It's right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. What I would recommend is that you get into a Clark Ford today. You'll love the product. You'll love the service after the sale. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove it to you. 662-257-1900.
So Neal's picks up as we're talking.
They're not up yet, but
okay. They will be by the time
at some point.
This. Yeah. So, all right, that's up this morning.
Technical glitch apparently.
We lost a game. Like, literally, the game disappeared.
Yeah, and I can't remember the caption that I had written, and I'm really mad at myself because
it was good?
Yeah, it was a personal shot.
Oh. You like those?
At times. It's good to...
You don't sound good again today.
Well, it's just... I feel fine, but you're right, I don't sound
like you need a cough drop.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Just, I don't know.
We'll talk to Jeffrey plenty about it. Probably a very college football-centric show tomorrow, so we won't hear much basketball. Ole Miss, Memphis, Saturday at noon. Started on the message board this morning. Talking about Ole Miss has the veteran guards, has the better college basketball coach. Memphis, ton of talent, even with Wiseman on the floor. Obviously, DJ Jeffries and Prince Achua and different people. What is sort of your expectation for Saturday? What are sort of the things Ole Miss has to do? I mean, I do think the bright lights probably get to all the freshmen, Memphis and Ole Miss, on both sides. It is going to be the biggest environment any of the young kids have played in to this point.
Yeah, I think bottom line, Ole Miss has to play better offensively if they're going to have a shot in this game. I just think it's that simple. They're going to have to rebound the ball better. They're not going to be the most talented team, not even close. Memphis is far more talented overall than Ole Miss is. And yet young talent, but it's elite young talent, even without Wiseman. DJ Jeffries is a starter at Ole Miss right now. Precious Achua is a starter at Ole Miss right now. Boogie Ellis is a starter at Ole Miss right now. It's for Ole Miss to win the game, Breein Tyree and Devontae Shuler have to have big games. Somebody else has to emerge in addition to KJ Buffin, whether that's Blake or whether that's Hadim C or Sammy Hunter or Austin Crowley or somebody has to step up and really play well. I don't particularly like the matchup this early in the season, given the fact that Ole Miss just hasn't played these sorts of teams. It's a big coaching advantage for Ole Miss. There's no doubt about that. But the talent disparity it's there, and the game's at Memphis, and it'll be a rowdy crowd and all of that stuff. And someone's got to step up for Ole Miss and make some shots. That's what they haven't done. They've played
Tyree or Shuler's got to show out.
Yeah, and then somebody else does too.
Yeah.
They got to have some people make buckets. They haven't done that. They've played elite defense, Ole Miss has, but they've played suboptimal offense. The ball's not moving. The ball's sticking a lot, which is not typical for a Kermit Davis team. Balls typically move. So that means that every practice he's all over them about it. And it will eventually start to move. But it might be one of those deals where they've got to get popped first. You know, even a coach like Kermit Davis, a lot of times kids just don't buy it. They don't believe him. I mean, they do, but they don't really believe it.
They haven't seen it.
Till you get beat. And if you let the ball stick against a team as athletic as Memphis, you're going to get late in shot clock. You're going to get bad shots. They're going to start getting buckets in transition.
It gets ugly quick.
Yeah, it gets ugly. Yeah, sure.
Memphis' last tune-up was not exactly impressive last night. They faced Little Rock in that's also one of those Barclays Center campus game things. 68-58, the Tigers over the Trojans. It was a 5-point lead at halftime and was frankly pretty close throughout most of the second half. Memphis committed 19 turnovers last night.
Well, listen, let me say this.
Yeah,
let me get here right now.
Sure.
I have a theory that Americans don't read. And I'm convinced that Americans don't read. Pat Forty buried the lead in his story. His NCAA sources. Think what you want about Pat. He has very good NCAA sources.
Hard to argue that one.
Said he expected, I can't remember the exact words, a full-scale NCAA investigation into Memphis basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That's a distracted program. There's no way, we saw it here, there's no way when that stuff's going on that you're clicking on all cylinders as a program. They've got all sorts of internal issues on that team. Penny Hardaway has allowed far too many people access to that program. People who are not exactly, let's just say that their moral compasses aren't real rock steady. And they've made promises to kids that have been broken already. Kids are unhappy. Kids are chirping. More importantly, the people around those kids are chirping.
Mm-hmm.
Promises were made, and when you don't deliver on those promises, people talk. And so if you told me that this is a Memphis team that is super distracted right now, I'd buy it. Because I don't think Penny Hardaway survives this.
You don't.
I'm on record. I've said that. I think it's one of the reasons that I probably didn't get a radio gig in Memphis. I don't think this is going to work. I think he's made too many enemies. There are a lot of parallels here between Penny Hardaway and, I'm not getting into Hugh Freeze, but there's some parallels here. New coach comes in.
Shakes up the structure a little bit.
Probably recruits a little more aggressively than he needs to. And that's fine, but you can't then be brash about it. Penny got really brash. He told people what they wanted to hear in Memphis, which is, hey, man, we're here. I'm not backing down to anybody. Here we go. When what he probably needed to say was, caught a couple of breaks here. I got the job. The city's loaded. We're going to recruit it hard.
And here's the deal that's so non-palatable for me is that while you're exactly right, and that is reality, how dumb is that? You know what I mean?
But how dumb are a lot of things?
But I'm just saying,
right.
You're here. You shouldn't recruit. Give me a freaking break in a lot of ways. I mean,
in a lot of ways. But when Memphis goes and lands a national kid from Texas and a national kid from California and stuff like that.
But your coach is Penny Hardaway. There is a name associated with that. And again, I'm not defending Memphis. I'm just saying,
17-year-old boys. You think Penny Hardaway has a name to 17-year-olds?
Yeah, the way he's run that AAU circuit lately. Yeah.
I get it. But he doesn't have the name that John Calipari has. He doesn't have the name that Mike Krzyzewski has.
No, and they'll lose some kids to them, sure. But I'm just saying, I just the NCAA mandating who should be good drives me insane.
Yeah.
That's my point.
But my point is if you're going to shake, and this has been proven, whether it's right or wrong, good or bad, I don't care. It doesn't matter. If you're going to recruit at a level that is above where you normally recruit, shut up. Or don't be sloppy. Because here's the parallel.
Yeah.
He's been sloppy. What got Hugh Freeze was sloppiness. Sloppiness. Penny's been sloppy. And when the NCAA announces basically that they're coming to get you, it's because they already have you.
Which is the thing that's not being talked about much with this thing is that everybody's focused on the Wiseman stuff that has been known and whatever. I think the only way this even comes to where we're at right now is if there's something else they just haven't told us yet.
Oh, there is.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
I mean, I think we're wasting a lot of time going, well, about this 11,500. That's not what this is about.
Well, we go back to a couple of weeks ago. It was so stupid on their part. It was a dumb strategy. No one got it at the time. You were guilty. You did it. Do the thing right away where, hey, okay, you're right. He's ineligible. Let's work around this. Let's figure out how he can pay the money back. Pay the money back, in quotes. And then we'll sit 10 games, 8 games, whatever. You're right. We're going to take our little beating here, and then we'll get back to it. Instead, they did the double birds thing. And the NCAA said, okay, here we come. It was almost like the tweet. Was the tweet stupid? Should it not have been a big deal? Sure. Hey, if you know of anything, don't disparage these young men. That's, hey, NCAA, come and get us. And they always do when you say that. You never hear Kentucky go, hey, we don't do anything here. We're clean as a whistle.
Memphis pretty cold from everything last night, 38, 23, 65 on their percentage splits last night for the game. If you're just kind of curious how they're going to divvy some stuff up a little bit. Let's see. J.J. Jeffries played 20 minutes off the bench last night. Achua played 30. That was second on the team. Ellis played 20. Played a lot of guys, a lot of minutes, frankly. Lomax got 25 off the bench.
Start making him happy.
Yeah. few more minutes for your boy there.
Yeah. How much did Harris play?
16 off the bench.
Went to the bench. Who started?
Thomas, Achua. I don't know Memphis' team. Quinones. I don't know.
Luis Quinones.
Okay, yeah, him. Baugh and Ellis.
Oh, yeah,
and then
loaded. Man, they are loaded.
Jeffries, Maurice, Harris, Lomax, Hardaway, and Boyce off the bench. So they played 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys, and actually played 10 guys at least 8 minutes.
Okay.
7 guys at least 16 minutes.
We are in make everybody happy mode.
Yeah, playing a lot of folks.
Good. It's interesting. Got a lot on his mind.
Yeah,
a lot of appeasement to do.
Yeah, 40 writes that, and usually he's not one to beat around too much. He put that in like the 6th paragraph, just kind of there. It was.
Yeah, nobody read it.
Yeah.
I read it. I went, uh-oh, Memphis.
Oh, yeah, the eyes went up like, whoa.
Yep, for sure. It'll be a big game. It'll be a fun game. It's a free opportunity for Ole Miss.
And the advice to everybody, chill out. 10-point win, 10-point loss, chill out. Well, it's November.
I told people before the season started. That's why I got a lot of questions with, hey, man, why aren't you writing more about basketball? Well, because I need to see them play. Why aren't you writing more about these young guys? Because I need to see them play. I don't know who's going to play a big role. I need to see it. So that's kind of where we are. I want to see. This is the beginning of a 2-week swing where we're going to find out who he trusts and who he doesn't. I think he trusts Crowley. I think he is starting to like Williams more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he trusts Miller or Curry right now at all. Dude, Collins not ready to play. He trusts C a lot. He has to trust Hunter. And Henson, if he's ready to play a lot of minutes, is going to take some minutes from somebody.
He will make his debut, it sounds like, on Saturday. So
yeah, I'll be curious to see if Blake starts.
You think he might go ahead and throw him in?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I think he trusts 4 dudes
at the
right
technical
now.
4. I mean, I know it doesn't, whatever, but
yeah. Well, I mean, Blake's pretty versatile. I mean, Blake.
But that's the spot he would take in a lineup per se, I guess.
Yeah, because he could move KJ to the 5, or Blake could play the 3 and move Luis out.
Okay.
And you could leave Buffin at the 4 and Hadim or Sammy at the 5. Blake gives you some versatility. Blake could technically play the 2. Blake's a good player. I mean, they've missed him. They've missed his offense. They've missed his defense. They've missed his voice. They've missed his leadership. He is a charismatic, great kid.
That is the thing he's done so well so fast, is just sort of changed over that roster that gives them so many more options than they had. Where it was, hey, they've got to, not only do you have to do this, but you've got to protect this guy and then do this. Like, it was, last year was a struggle to kind of finagle it all together and keep it together in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Look, What I noticed, the main thing I noticed every time that they come out to play is that they look like a different team. They look like an SEC team. Don't always play like one on the offensive end right now, but it's early. It's November. This is not a finished product. His teams get better as the season goes on. And this team will get better as the season goes on. It's playing really good defense. And a lot of the angst the other night was in the last 5 minutes with guys who aren't going to play critical minutes on this team.
Yeah, look, they were up 48-24 at one point with their rotation. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he took them out, played this.
Seattle had 17 points with 16 minutes left in the game.
Yeah. They scored basically double that in the last
6-7 minutes.
6 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And again, credit to them. It's if you're Seattle's coach, you're pleased with your kids
you
playing.
left the arena and went, okay.
Well, yeah, you weren't going to win that game. So, you're pleased that your kids played hard. And I don't know what league they play in, nor does it matter. But, whatever.
Yeah, I don't either.
It gets real now. We find out starting Saturday. Then they go to New York, and we'll see what happens there. They're going to play some teams. They're going to play some athletes now. You're going to play some teams that have
It's
dudes.
basketball now.
Yeah, you're going to play teams that have dudes.
Yeah, just like I said, my advice, it's a road game in a pretty hostile environment against the number 16 team in the country.
Yeah.
Take it as what it is.
What it is
It's
an
an
opportunity.
Yeah. Memphis is going to win a lot of basketball games this year.
Yeah. What it is a chance to get a quadrant 1 road win. That's what it is. All that other crap, man, in basketball, you cannot get hung up on rivalry and all that stuff. It is an opportunity to get a quadrant 1 road win. It is an opportunity to put a big old bow on your resume. That's what it is. And so you either take it or you don't. Next week is 2 opportunities. Neutral site wins. Go get them.
They get Wiseman back in January.
Maybe.
Yeah, you think this is a placeholder?
I know a lot of stuff. And if I know it and other people know it and people are talking the way I think people are talking, I think the NCAA knows it too. Memphis is going to come to a fork in the road here fairly soon where they've got a decision to make. And frankly, it's a decision that's going to be painful for them because I think the person that the NCAA wants to get is Penny Hardaway. In much the same way that the person the NCAA wanted to get was Hugh Freeze. If you could put truth serum into people at Ole Miss, the question that you'd love to have answered is, when did you know that this was kind of personal? And what would have happened if you had broken ties with Freeze much earlier in the process? Do you think it would have gone away?
We kind of get done with Memphis and Ole Miss, at least the game portion of this. Memphis' one loss is to Oregon back a couple weeks ago. That was in Eugene or Portland or somewhere. I don't know. It was in Oregon, one way or the other.
Yeah, it was up there.
Yeah, 82-74 was the final. Wiseman did play. He played 22 minutes in that one. He had 14 and 12 in the game. But anyway, so that's one loss. 82-74. Against the Ducks, who were ranked 14th, and they're 3-0 as well on their season.
And that's where you get into institutional control. They played a player who was ineligible, and they knew it.
Well, that's the epitome of that rule if you went by the book, because they said, hey, we got an issue, and they said, we're playing him.
Absolutely.
I mean.
And that's a violation in and of itself. You knowingly played an ineligible player. 3 games. Huge violation. Look, I'm going to say this too about the NCAA, because right now it's really cool, and I like to rip them too. The NCAA sucks. The NCAA is horrible. The rule book's terrible. They need to be rewritten. Yeah, but right now, those are the rules. Right now, those are the rules. And when you violate those rules, you violate the rules that you agreed to when you voluntarily joined the NCAA. Those are the rules. The rules are boosters can't pay kids. Penny Hardaway is a Memphis booster, was a Memphis booster, and he paid $12,000 at least to James Wiseman. to move to Memphis, and James Wiseman signed with Memphis. That is a violation. No one's disputing those facts. So when the NCAA said he's ineligible, and Memphis said, screw it, we're playing him anyway, you knowingly played an ineligible player. It's a big no-no.
It's going to be a comedy. It's going to be good.
Right?
It's fodder. Oh, no doubt.
I mean, it's a no-no. You can't do it.
It's ripe for everything. There's just enough NCAA kind of being whatever to let some media run a little wild. You've got Memphis media going crazy anyway. You know what I mean? Like it's perfect for this storm of God knows what from a content standpoint as this thing moves forward.
Sure, it's going to be a circus.
Yeah, it's already a circus. So we'll pick up Jeffrey sometime in the next segment. We'll take a quick break to tell you about Visit Oxford. Visit oxfordms.com. Discover your perfect type of holiday getaway this season, including the Oxford Christmas Parade, the holiday house tours, and more. Spend your holidays in the Winter Wonderland of Oxford. Enjoy the festive activities such as the holiday concert by the Midtown Men, the downtown Christmas tree lighting, the holiday ornament auction, all happening this December. You can visit with Santa at Visit Oxford, the Holiday Village, and the Elf Scavenger Hunt, and more. So check out visitoxfordms.com or popupoxfordms.com.
We're also brought to you by Splinter Creek. It's a gated conservation community located 8 miles southwest of Oxford, 75 minutes from the Memphis airport. SplinterCreekMS.com is the website. You can get in touch with Tom Smith Land and Home Agents at 601-898-2772. They've been featured in Garden and Gun, Architectural Digest, Southern Living, and more. They've got 34 lakefront lots ranging in size from 2 to 25 acres, 650 acres of lakes, pine, and hardwood forest, private roads, running, cycling, and hiking trails. The lakes are the main streets of Splinter Creek. They've each got a combination of docks and floating piers, a pavilion with fire pit, outdoor kitchen for use by homeowners, their families, and guests. It's splintercreekms.com. You really should check it out if you're thinking about retiring to Oxford, moving to Oxford. 601-898-2772. Dead Soxy has expanded its collegiate line. Get in the action. Check out all of their newly listed color patterns. Regardless of their allegiance, those disowned relatives need Christmas gifts too. So go to deadsoxy.com, DEADSOXY.com. Check out the new collegiate line. And as always, enjoy the Rebel Grove savings of 30% off with promo code Rebel Grove. Dead Soxy, stay Soxy. We're now 5 weeks away from Christmas. Don't let yourself be the person that gets caught in the hustle and bustle of last-minute shopping. Our friends at Blue Delta are offering gift cards for their bespoke raw denim jeans for $100 off. This is a great way to treat your friends and family with a great Mississippi-made product for the holidays. Drop by the Oxford studio to purchase or get in touch with Blue Delta on their social media or at info@bluedeltajeans.com to have a gift card mailed to you anywhere in the world. Additionally, for our listeners in Texas, Blue Delta is in Dallas today. They're in Austin tomorrow. So give them a call and get fitted.
Podcast is brought to you by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. So you're getting local underwriting. It understands your market. A leader in condo financing, the float down option, and with rates as low as they've been in about 2 years. Good time to talk to Jason. That's 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com. We'll waiting on Jeffrey still for a few minutes. We'll get into picks a little bit. Those will be up today, as we said, at rebelgrove.com. They're brought to you every single day by Southern Craft Stove and Tap. And as we mentioned yesterday, everybody had a pretty good week. Everybody above 500 for the week. Everybody above 500 for the season. Neil and I at 8-4 last week. Jeffrey and Zach at 7-5. And
are you in the admin?
Yeah, but I'm not touching anything, so you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not saving any items or anything, so we're good. Just scrolling through for the season. Jeffrey still holds a lead. Well, he's tied with Neil for the lead, 59-49 against the spread. I'm 57-51, and then Zach 56-52. As we move into this here week, so we'll do that. You added plenty more games. I saw got a large swath of games this week.
Yeah, added some games. Penn State, Ohio State's a big game. Added Texas and Baylor so that we could all take our shots at Texas.
Jeffrey's ready, so actually we'll go to him now, and we'll come back to picks after after Mr. Wright, or maybe with Mr. Wright. I don't know, but either way, I'll do that while we're going to stay on. It's not the end of the world. Did you take Indiana or Michigan?
I'm taking Michigan. I still haven't decided whether I'm picking Michigan to cover or not.
Okay. Yeah, that was one I kind of changed my tune on a little bit. There was a couple that I did not stick with what I thought throughout the week. It kind of changed up a little bit. So, you there, Jeffrey? How are you?
Let's see. How am I?
Yeah.
Chilling out. Fantastic. Go Tigers, go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're. I texted you last night, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And your night had apparently changed a little bit. You've had an interesting 40 or 24 hours, I would assume, as a Memphis radio show host.
Say what you want. This fight song kind of slaps.
I'm about to say, I started kind of tapping my toe a little bit. I'll be honest.
It is a good fight song.
Emphasis on fight, even if no one cares. It's kind of like their fight song.
How many fight songs do you have on your board?
I've got a pretty good library. I mean, I would say, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What's your favorite?
I would say probably around 75.
No kidding.
Wow. What's your favorite fight song?
Oh, there's no questions asked. I mean, I think Chase knows the answer to this.
It is a good fight song. Give 'em all, stand up and yell, hey, war, eagle win for Auburn, pride of the Dixieland.
Wow.
6
years on that beat, buddy.
Wow.
Well, they sing it.
They sing it.
Oh, they do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's stuck in your head forever, isn't it? That's kind of like how I can do Hullabaloo, and it just never leaves. I've heard so much Tulane baseball over the last 15 years that it just sticks there.
The other great one.
To prove Neil's point, though, Jeff also, Calkins was the Auburn beat writer for a while, too, and he can do the same thing. Whenever I play Auburn, all of a sudden I'll catch him singing it because the same thing.
Yeah. The sneaky great one in person is USC because they play it the whole game. And
see, I agree.
It takes 24 hours to get it out of your head.
I agree. It's better in person. It's like a live band that you're not really wild, but like seeing the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like, you hear the album, you're like, okay, I get it. And then when you see them live, you're like, oh, I really get it.
Yeah. Coldplay is that way. Like, you listen to Coldplay on the radio, you're like, it's fine. And you listen to Coldplay in person, and it's awesome. It's really weird.
I think U2's the same way.
That was a podcast stick for you at one point. You ranked the fight songs, right? I seem to recall that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we definitely did that. And then I'm not the one that I think is massively overrated is Michigan, but I will stand for all the Notre Dame hype. This song bangs.
That's also the Oxford High School fight song.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah. You never know where we're going here.
I realize that I'm just the ultimate cynic. I'm reading from the live chat here, and somebody goes, Notre Dame is good because of Rudy. Rudy is in that Field of Dreams category, which is one of the most overrated sports movies of all time.
It's awful.
It drives me insane.
I love how y'all two are the cynical ones. I like both those movies.
Do you really?
For what they are, yeah.
It's so saccharine. Like, I have it in my teeth, and I can't get it out.
Well, I mean, do you like Remember the Titans? It's the same idea. It's like the same concept. It's clearly exploiting
it's a little better.
Hot take. I don't like it.
I'm a little better with Remember the Titans than I am those other two.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can also accept a movie for what it is. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that is part of the key, is that you have to shut your mind off and just go enjoy the damn film.
Underrated one in the LSU doesn't embrace their fight song like they should. They spend too much time trying to be, brand Tiger Rag and whatnot, but it's a hell of a fight song.
You know what's funny is you could play that song and I would not immediately associate that with LSU.
No, you've got to have the.
They don't brand it, and they also have a great routine for it. They score the touchdown.
Yeah.
Tiger Rag, and they spell out tigers very drunkenly. And then at the very end, after they do the S, all you hear is this like really drunk tuba, like Mwah! The kick goes through the uprights, and then they just absolutely rip into this. That's an awesome routine.
Yeah, because with LSU, you just know the riff.
Yeah,
you just know when it goes in.
And their band has a distinct sound. Like their band's very brassy.
It is.
That's a good point.
Then they break out like the Golden Girls.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, you can close your eyes and like you can hear most of their songs, and like you can just see like what the little Golden Girls do to that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in agreement that this is the absolute worst fight song of all time, right?
Yeah, it's okay. So, timeout real quick.
All right.
Multiple people have, because at some point we're going to talk this Memphis thing. Multiple people have mentioned Arkansas's fight song. I don't even know what it sounds like. Do you have theirs?
Yeah, Arkansas's is very, very underappreciated. I think theirs is good.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Bum bum bum.
That is a good one. That is now that you play that. If you had played that and said who's that, I would have immediately said Arkansas.
You would have known it.
Yeah, because yeah.
Also, speaking of Big Ten, underrated one. I actually think this one, hot take, this is better than Hail to the Victors. It takes a minute to get going, but On Wisconsin's a damn good song.
Oh, that is a good song.
On Wisconsin's another one of those ones that like 45 high schools have covered. 45 is probably low.
That was good.
Last one here. Don't play it. What's MUS's fight song? Is it good?
Don't play it. How dare you? We are in the semifinals, going with a rematch game, trying to beat the only team that beat us this year, and that's why be NBA when you can be NBA. Ours fight song's not good. It's not good at all.
Is it not?
No.
You home or away tomorrow night?
Actually, it's on the wrong program. We are at home. Okay. We won the division. We beat Briarcrest with their best team ever, and our coaches still don't even know if our team's good.
Oh man, they don't have Hugh Freeze.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Although, you know, the stigma of Briarcrest, like once a loser, always a loser.
Okay.
I have no idea how we beat them. They have so much more talent than us. It is absurd.
So we've been spending about 20 minutes on this Wiseman thing, Memphis thing. I'm sure you'll do something similar to that today.
Add another 0 to that, and that might be
just the third segment at one point. Yeah. Do you think he is actually back at the end of this 12-game period?
So Neal and I talked about this off the air. I still think he's coming back because I think this whole thing was orchestrated. Like I see the argument for why he wouldn't come back. I could also see where they do the appeal, and the appeal knocks it down to 9 games, so he's back for conference play. And I think that's enough. I I guess perhaps maybe how the season goes without him playing could have an impact because most of their big games are going to be included in that suspension starting on Saturday. But I still think like he does seem pretty committed to playing on this team. I mean, he could have easily walked away several times, and he hasn't yet.
What did you make of 40's story yesterday where he sort of buried the lead and said, hey, full-blown NCAA investigation is likely?
I mean, I told y'all this, I don't remember if it was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know, whenever I was on the show about how I'm getting PTSD because this is like rinse, repeat, the exact same thing from the Ole Miss case. When Pat came back yesterday, I was like, well, we're all here. Because Wolken, I think, had a tweet. Wolken had a tweet about it, and I was like, oh, the gang's all here. We're ready to go. The party can start.
If you knew who I got an email from last night, you'd be like, oh, my God, the party has resumed.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Steve Robertson?
Oh,
No,
even better.
yeah.
It just we'll talk about it later.
I'll send you a text so you know, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I've got
that's
it up right here. No.
literally that's how I felt. It's like, wow, this is it. And I think that's the thing about NCAA investigations. Like, and I will say the public rating of the NCAA is so low. I do feel as if there are, regional rivals, and I use rivals somewhat in air quotes, of Memphis that are like somewhat supportive of what's going on. But everyone thinks that every NCAA investigation is just unique to them, and it only like what they're doing only, they're only doing it, they being the NCAA is only doing it to their team. And you just realize like this thing is so formulaic. Like, you get the same media that carried your water 10 years ago are going to carry your water if they're still alive and kicking today.
So
he's run such a sloppy program in a year. Everyone knows it. It's widely discussed. I think the NCAA wants to get him. I think he's become a target. Is there a way, in your opinion, that he escapes all of this and survives it?
Man, I don't think so, and I don't really know how because I'm not ruling it out. Like, I don't say that, oh, it's impossible. Like, I know that's bad radio, and I should be saying like there's no way he escapes it, but
well, there's always a way,
right.
But it's really it's got to be super duper nuanced, and it requires him to change his public approach. It requires him to change the way he has recruited. It requires him to do a lot of stuff that I don't know that he is capable of doing because I don't know people who are wired that way are truly capable of much change.
No, to me, it's very similar to the Freeze situation where was there a path out? I think at one time there probably was, but it required Freeze to not be Freeze, and he just couldn't help himself. Same thing. I mean, like you go and you see, Penny Hardaway's basically, he's going on that CBS Sports Network show, We Need to Talk, and, so many of the public comments are basically like, I get it, it's a rule, but I don't agree with it. Because I don't agree with it, like, I'm just gonna ignore it. And that's not really how you play the game.
Right.
And so, is there another way out? I guess it's conceivable. I just don't know what it is. I don't know what the strategy is.
He's also got to handle people around his program better. He's got to handle family members of players better. He's got to do a lot of appeasement in the next few weeks. Got to make people happy. Made a lot of promises on the recruiting trail that he's having a hard time delivering. Everybody can't be the superstar.
I mean, I think that was, I'm pretty sure I said it on this show when we were talking about their signing class, and it's like there is a reason why Mike Krzyzewski could go and get, 5 or 7 studs every single year. He doesn't do it, and it's not because Coach USA just believes in these 3 kids. It's because, as you point out, promises get made, and then if you can't if you can't keep those promises, then it becomes a lot to manage. And I just man, I felt this for a very long time. I could feel the NCAA cloud and the storm was brewing,
Yep.
Mr. Wayne. And, now I will admit it happened probably a little more quickly than I thought it was going to. But I also feel like the NCAA is motivated. They got so embarrassed through this whole federal trial. Now, one narrative that does bother me is everyone always uses, well, yeah, but look at Kansas. Kansas has an NOA right now.
Yeah.
Kansas is facing lack of institutional control. Like, Kansas is likely to get hammered.
Yeah, if there's a narrative to the Kansas thing, it's Kansas saying, bring it, and the NCAA saying, you got it. We're on our way.
Right.
I mean,
we'll talk. Like, there's a process. The reason why, like, Kansas is playing and going through everything is because there is a process that is a slow process, as we both, all three of us know.
yeah.
And so,
Listen, I love to make fun of the NCAA. You guys know that. But when people say, well, the way to beat the NCAA is to lawyer up and basically take the gloves off and put on the brass knuckles and get nasty. Sometimes. But you got to make sure that if you do that, that the facts are either on your side or they're so cloudy that you can do that. Because sometimes when you do that, the NCAA says, all right, big boy, I'm right here. And takes the robe off and steps into the ring and says, let's go. And when that happens, the NCAA wins more than it loses.
I would also add to that statement, you and I both agree, when the NCAA starts sniffing around, you fight. But when you make a decision to cooperate at any point, from that point forward, that has to be your plan. You can't decide, well, we're getting a raw deal now. Now we're going to fight. You're toast at that point.
Well, in multiple ways, because then they go, well, hey, you're back on this and you're back on that. I mean, you're giving them ammunition. That's all you're doing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And like they don't have a tremendous fact-finding process. So when you start cooperating, you start doing their job for them. And that's my point. So if you make the decision to cooperate, that is your decision from that point forward. But as Neal points out, if you're going to make the decision to cooperate, you need to make sure your case is airtight. Because if it's
at least decent. It's like people
Correct.
say Ole Miss should have fought, and maybe Ole Miss should have fought. Ole Miss had some problems with fighting. Like, for example, Lindsey Miller showed them the bank statements. They had that. What are you going to do? You're going to say it didn't happen? That guy's not a booster? I don't want to I don't want to relitigate the Ole Miss case because I really would like to start talking about it less. People have said, hey, I wish you'd start talking about it less. I do have a business to run, and so I'm going to listen to people. But when you go back to that and you look at it, yeah, were there some things where Ole Miss could have fought differently or better? Sure. But were there some things where there was no fight to have because it was there? And I think that's where Penny's problem is going to be. It's where the Memphis decision to play him when they told Memphis he was ineligible is mind-boggling to me because there was no dispute over the $11,500.
No, and I think this is another. I think this is the NCAA, as we know, is very, very bad at PR, and I think one of the factors that often doesn't get considered and doesn't get discussed is everyone gets hung up on numbers that are proved. Like, for instance, the $700 sleeping on the couch, like all the Lindsey Miller stuff that was in the NOA, and that everyone thinks that that's the reason why Ole Miss got toast. Well, that is what the NCAA has with the burden of proof. That is the paper trail. They have interviews and whatnot that that prove to them more. They just don't have the paper trail, so therefore they can't put it in the NOA. However, that doesn't, like, everyone thinks of it like as a Law and Order episode. Well, that's not it. Like,
right.
Their their judgment process is essentially, here is what we believe. Unless you prove otherwise, this is the story, and we're sticking with it. And so, yes, they have proven this $11,500 payment for the moving expenses and whatnot. Actually, I think Innsworth proved it. But shout outs to Middle Tennessee. With that being said, like, the NCAA believes that the house that the Wisemans are living in, Penny is paid for, and like it goes deeper. But the $11,500 is what they have the paper trail for, and the NCAA is not good at explaining burden of proof and their system of infractions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
What do you think happens on the floor Saturday?
See, this is where I don't know, because Ole Miss has, I think, something that can probably give Memphis problems, as we saw with Oregon. If you've got experienced guards and experienced backcourt, you can kind of take advantage of them. With that being said, the two games that I've watched with Ole Miss, and just looking at box scores and looking at numbers, God, their offense looks terrible.
They're not shooting well right now at all.
And typically, the teams that we've seen that have given Ole Miss problems under Kermit, and even honestly back to Andy, if you've got length and athleticism on the perimeter, that's typically given Ole Miss problems. Memphis has that. So you could tell me about 10 different results on Saturday, and I'd buy all of them. I will say I do think Ole Miss likes their chances.
Oh, I think both teams are going into this with a clear expectation that they can win this basketball game. There's no doubt about that.
I will also add this. Memphis last night looked like a team that got a huge gut punch yesterday.
That's what I said to Chase a little earlier in the show. There's no way, because they're human beings, there's no way that this is not distracting. There's no way that they are a focused program right now. Coaches, administrators, the kids. There's some unhappy kids. There's some family around the kids that are unhappy. They're not little basketball machines, and the whole, we have to cancel out all of the noise. You can't cancel out all of the noise. I mean, they're not insulated 24/7. They're on their phones like every other human being on earth. They're on their phones. They're getting text and DMs and stuff from people about what's going on, and there's a lot there. If you told me that they're not exactly focused Saturday and on a lot of days, I'd buy it.
Yes, and I don't think Ole Miss is going to have that problem.
No, I mean, I'll give Kermit this. He is really good at staying in his lane. He pushes the envelope, but he doesn't ever get outside of it, really. And his teams are pretty locked in. His teams are usually pretty focused. When his teams get beat, I'm trying to think of an exception last year. They weren't particularly dialed in at Arkansas at the end of the season, but that might have been a sign of, hey, this team has run out of gas. His teams, for the most part, are pretty dialed in, and to beat them, you just have to be better than them.
Yeah, and I could even make a case. It's not so much that Arkansas game. You can just make the case, like, typically, I mean, it was still an Andy Kennedy roster for the most part. And typically, once this, Andy got a lot of big wins early in the schedule. And once the scouting report got out and teams knew how to attack them, they would typically falter down the stretch. I think you can make the same argument last year.
Yeah, well, last year, I mean, not to to look at the end of the season, now that you've the benefit of hindsight, you can sort of see a lot of it. A scouting report was established. B, Breein Tyree got tired. C, the freshmen at that point, Buffin and Henson had sort of hit the wall, and Schuler was playing hurt. And I just think the metaphorical vehicle with the gas tank, I just think by the end they were on fumes, and there was no place to pull over and refuel. They were done. That's why these next couple of weeks for this team are going to be interesting, because the tank's full. They're about to get Blake Henson back. He's going to play Saturday against Memphis, and You'll see when you see them in person, if you see it, Jeffrey, they look more like an SEC team than any team that I've covered since, and probably more so, but since the Buckner, Holloway group. And this team's bigger than that team was.
And I imagine they don't have the, shall we say, mental issues that perhaps that team might have had.
No, this team appears to be far more sane than that team. That team was nuts, man. I mean,
that team was so bipolar.
Oh, I would love to go back in time and be embedded with that team and write that book. That would be fantastic. Marshall Henderson, you had a team with Marshall Henderson, and he was not the biggest mental issue.
Yeah. Also, the Kentucky, Andy was on the call of like Kentucky like right after they beat Michigan State, that Friday night game.
Yeah.
And Andy was doing I spoke with Cal, and he said the difference between this year and last year he had shooters. This year he's got makers. And I'm about 4 minutes and 37 seconds away from having some makers myself. Yeah. And then Mark goes, I noticed your water bottle had red wax on top. And then Andy just goes, when in Rome.
Yeah. Yeah. He wants to get back into coaching really bad, but he's exceptional at TV.
When in Rome.
Before we let you go, any of the games this weekend that caught your
eye? I'm just glad the league finally did something. Like, you look at next year's schedule, and this week's not going to just be bye-week central. Like,
a few games.
There's a few national games that are decent, but I mean, Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, I can see where maybe Ohio State's in a bit of a look-ahead spot, but
they're so good.
They've traditionally, man, they've been laser focused right now. I don't know. A&M, does A&M Georgia interest anyone here? I mean, we got it's as I've made the joke on this show, it's the Texas A&M decision tree. Are they playing a defense with a pulse? Yeah. If so, bet against them. If they're not, because Kellen Mond can't beat anyone with a pulse. So, I don't know. I guess the question for me now is, since we might as well just go ahead and start getting the hype train rolling, I am curious to see Georgia is able to get consistent, maybe not consistent pressure, but Georgia is able to control the line of scrimmage with only 3 or 4 defensive linemen. I am curious to see if they can replicate what Auburn did to LSU defensively, and they can have a little more competency on offense, and if that makes an interesting game. My theory is that LSU's still just going to, even if LSU doesn't play awesome offensively, they're still going to be able to score more points. But, I mean, we saw what the boa constrictor did to, what the boa constrictor did to a lot of Big 12 teams during, 2008 through, 13, 14 at Alabama. So, I don't rule it out. I just think that Georgia's going to have to have a much more aggressive game plan than what they've had this season if they're going to beat them. But, I mean, they clearly have enough players to do so. So
Georgia is a better Auburn, but to beat LSU, you've got to go downfield. You've got to throw it down the field. You've got to risk it against that defensive secondary. But that's the only way you're going to do it. You've got to stretch them vertically. So it's going to come down to how much do Kirby Smart and the offensive coaches there, how much of the game are they willing to put in Jake Fromm's hands?
Well,
and here it is, bud. Let's go for it.
A lot of these same things that we saw, a lot of these flaws that we saw with Georgia last year, they got into the SEC championship game, and it was Jake Fromm throwing vertically, and he had the best game of his career, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I mean, certainly the best 3 quarters. The fourth quarter. And I'm willing to give him a pass in the fourth quarter because we started to see kind of what they're doing on offense now in the fourth quarter. It was like, we've got the lead. Now let's just like sit on it. But I mean, through 3 quarters, he came out and he was lighting it up down the field, unlike any game I've ever seen him play. I mean,
absolutely.
I remember I believe Dylan and I were watching the game together, and we both had Alabama, and we looked at each other after the second drive, and we go, we are in trouble.
Well, because you know what LSU's going to do, because they've done it now for 10 games, and they're going to do it for however many more. They're going to go. They're going to turn the engine on, and they're going to go. They're going to rev it up and go. That's what they do offensively. Credit to Ed Orgeron, man. He deserves a ton of credit for it. I know it's not his offense, but he has the ability as the head coach to dial it down, and he does not. He keeps going offensively. And now I think the points this week are too many. I think the points against A&M will probably be too many, although they hate each other, those two programs. But when he gets into that championship game, they're going to roll. They're going to keep going. It's got a chance. I think LSU Georgia has a chance to be a real classic.
I think it does because it's an intriguing stylistic matchup. I don't know. I guess the other narrative that's kind of bothered me this year is this idea that Joe Brady somehow reinvented offense. Like, they're not schematically, they are not reinventing the wheel. They have modernized their offense.
No, they're kind of running a pro-style offense with the pro-style quarterback and stretching the field vertically and then taking the underneaths. And they've got these.
Chase, how many times do you watch LSU play and go, I've seen that before?
Well, yeah. It's because what LSU was. Exactly. It's simply a character based off the change that has happened.
But there are people that are acting like Joe Brady should be getting head coaching jobs right now because of what he does schematically, and it's driving me insane.
Yeah, really talented team that found a quarterback and decided to throw the football down the field.
Well,
that's what it is.
Yeah, like they're running the same offense that some programs have been running for 15 years. Like, if anything, this is just an indictment. Like when people would say, LSU's offense isn't that archaic. Like all this proves is if you made that argument, wow.
To me, it's proof of what I've said for a long time. When people say, what do you think, what kind of offense would you run if you were wherever, anywhere? I want to find a big quarterback, preferably athletic, and Burrow is super athletic. And then I want to get a stable of receivers.
Neal, he's sneaky athletic. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I'm so tired of it. He's super athletic. He's. I mean, the guy was.
They ran quarterback draw to beat Alabama.
The guy was Mr. Basketball in Ohio. Basketball's pretty good in Ohio.
Mr. Basketball, Mr. Football in the same year. That's a hell of an athlete.
Yeah. So, if it's me, I want that. I want a running back kind of like what they've got. And then I want a stable of receivers, and I want to stress defenses. I want to stress them. I want to go vertically, then get them playing soft, and I want to pick them underneath. I want to do exactly what they're doing. I love that style of offense. It's fun to watch. I think it works. I think in this part of the country, you can recruit those kinds of athletes to be receivers in that offense. And then I'm just running pro style.
Yes, you do exactly what they do, which is even if they make a mistake, every stop feels like you should get points when you play LSU.
Mm-hmm. Last thing, Jeffrey, some pretty good NFL games on Sunday. From a viewer's guide standpoint, what's your order as far as the ones you actually want to see here? And I'm talking about Seattle, Philadelphia, Cowboys, Patriots, and Niners, Packers.
I think the answer has to be Pats, Cowboys, then Niners, Packers, Saints, Panthers, right? Because I don't have the number in front of me. The Panthers' record now in like the last 3 years in NFC South games, they're like 7-21, or like it's like since like 2015. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
I don't have the specific number in front of me, but I remember reading it and I was like, and then you start thinking about it's like, oh yeah, I bet on the Panthers a lot in those games, and then I've regretted it immediately. I don't know. I'm curious to see how Dak goes. The New England secondary is obviously one of the best secondaries in all of football. But with that being said, they've been susceptible to the run. It's just not many teams have been able to do it on them. So, like, even Philly didn't really run the ball very well last week. Obviously, the Ravens run the ball extremely well, so they ran it well on them. So I think it's going to be interesting because, you know, for all the Ole Miss Mississippi State jokes this year, and it's well documented. My thoughts on Dak as an elite quarterback. He's played some pretty damn good football this year.
He really has.
Yes.
He deserves a ton of credit.
Yeah.
He's played really well. You know what else? He's played well in big games. He's surrounded. He's got a good group around him. He spreads the ball around. They've got an elite back. They're pretty good up front. I think he's had a good year.
The only game that I felt like he didn't show up in was the New Orleans game. Because even the Green Bay game, like his numbers were worse than he was. Like Cooper had a basically a walk-in touchdown that he dropped. There was another pick that literally hit the receiver in the hands, went straight up in the air. Like his numbers were not nearly as bad as his numbers were way worse than he was that day. And I mean, in most big games, the only real game that I don't feel like he showed up in was the Saints game, and that's probably a credit to the Saints defense more than anything.
This will be interesting with him in Foxborough because they're gonna. I know you got to go. They're gonna do what Belichick does. They're gonna pick something and take it away, and he's going to have to adjust.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. So, for the example that I would give, part of the reason why I'm warming up to Daniel Jones, or at least the idea of Daniel Jones, is when the Giants played the Patriots on Thursday Night Football, Bill Belichick played defense against Jones. Like, he didn't just blitz him and say, this is a young quarterback. Where, I mean, they obviously blitz some, but I mean, that's what defenses do. But for the most part, he respected him enough as a full field reader and as a passer to play defense against him. Whereas you flip to the Monday night game against the Jets with Sam Darnold, and he blitzed with no safety at least 10 times. Yeah. I'm curious to see if you want a good indicator of what Belichick thinks of Prescott, watch that first 5 minutes, the first couple defensive series, and see how often they come after him. If they don't come after him very much, that means he really, really respects what he can do.
Enjoy your day at Memphis basketball, Joe.
All right, guys.
That was Jeffrey Wright. We'll conclude the show in 1 second. Forward to that, though, I'll tell you about Tyson Drugs and G&M Pharmacy. With flu season approaching quickly, they have flu vaccinations available with $0 copay on most insurance plans. You don't have to wait in line for the overworked pharmacist. Just go to G&M and let them get you in and out as quickly and painlessly as possible. You can find them on South Lamar or at Tyson Drugs on the Square in Holly Springs, 662-236-2222.
Picks will be up on the site probably by the time you hear this. They are sponsored by Southern Craft Stove and Tap, located off Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue. Southern Craft Stove and Tap places an emphasis on food and atmosphere, mixing the quality of fine dining with a come-as-you-are environment, featuring 30 craft beers and offering a high-quality selection of cuisine and libations. Southern Craft Stove and Tap has you covered for any occasion. Join them for lunch, dinner, Sunday brunch, or have your favorites catered out. Catering orders placed online currently receive $25 off any order totaling $100 or more, so avoid the chaos of parking on the square. Head over and experience carefully crafted dishes with your favorite Southern ingredients. Southern Craft Stove and Tap, Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue in Oxford. Podcast, also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust based in Madison, Mississippi. They've got clients in more than 20 states. They've got advisors in multiple states as well. They also have the Pinnacle Trust 401k advisory services team. If your 401k is not operating the way that you would like, not producing the results that you would like, get in touch with them. They'll conduct a complimentary, no obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. Mention that you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the Oxford Exxon Podcast and receive 10% off of your first year's fees. Podcast also brought to you in part by the Westin Jackson. It is a Marriott property in downtown Jackson, home to Soul Spa, the ultimate luxury spa experience in Jackson, and also home to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro, where you can sip on a creative craft cocktail or enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. So gather at Estelle tonight. And we're brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you've been thinking about that golf trip with the guys, anniversary trip to Florida, the Caribbean, Scotland, Ireland, whatever the case may be, before you book it yourself, get in touch with John. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows John to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits, simply not available to other travelers. All you do is you give him a call, send him an email, give him some parameters, give him a budget, and he'll give you a plethora of options. And no, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast.
We decided to do a lot of fight songs, different things. I'm not going to go through all through Neal's picks. Those will be up on the site there. You can go check it out. You can read the captions and the lead, which is along the same theme again this week, and more there.
There's a lot going on at Neal's picks. We're dealing with a lot of stuff.
The palatial estate has things going on.
It's been busy. Every time I go over there, there's something new.
Rivalry weekend lines have come out in Vegas. State favored by 1.5 against Ole Miss for next week.
I'm good at this.
You had it 2, right?
Consistently, I've said 2 points.
Yeah, 1.5 State over Ole Miss at the moment.
What's your early thought on that game? It's a weird game when you stop.
One of those teams has to do something they're not comfortable with to win. Ole Miss has got to throw the ball more to win. State has got to, frankly, just be a little more in the game offensively. I feel like they get so bogged down offensively constantly that it's, hey, you can't just run on Ole Miss. They're going to have to but a quarterback is going to win this game with an arm.
That's what I think too. That's what I think too. I think one of the coaching staffs has to say, you know what, F it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's throw it. Because that's how you beat Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's how you beat State.
It's how you beat State.
Yeah.
You go, hey, we're gonna, and I don't know that either coaching staff, if they're totally honest, trust their quarterback throwing the ball.
Alabama opens at 2.5 against Auburn. 2.5-point favorite for them there. Let's see.
I absolutely love Auburn in that game.
Do you?
I do.
Florida favored by 21 over Florida State. Georgia by 30.5 against Georgia Tech. Kentucky favored by 3.5 against Louisville. LSU 17.5 against A&M in Baton Rouge for that one. Clemson 24.5 in Columbia, South Carolina against the Gamecocks, and Tennessee hosting Vanderbilt. Vols by 20 in that one.
Yeah,
so,
I can see that.
Yeah, something along those lines. I mean, if Ole Miss plays Vanderbilt today, that line's 22. I mean, it's way up there. Vanderbilt's just that bad. There's no pulse. Derek Mason getting another year though.
Well, it also tells you a couple things. I think Barry Odom's probably going to get another year. It appears that Will Muschamp's going to get another year, although that deal's gotten weird with the chancellor and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you that these buyouts, not just an Ole Miss problem. These buyouts are difficult to pay off. They're hamstringing athletic programs, and that as attendance goes down, there's less money.
Patience goes up because of economics.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
And so you also have this looming thing coming in a couple of years with the new TV contracts.
Mm-hmm.
There's an assumption, oh, man, they're going to explode and you're going to have more money than God. But what if you don't?
Yeah.
No one knows exactly how the media rights landscape is going to look in 24 months,
right.
in 36 months, with the streaming services getting involved and all of the cord cutting and the people, the traditional audience getting older. So there's a lot of questions to ask, and no one really knows all those answers. And when that's the case, people get a little conservative. By the way, speaking of sports, the Ole Miss women's team back in action, Craddock Court on Saturday, 2 p.m. They take on Louisiana Tech. Tickets can be purchased at OleMissTix.com. The volleyball team at the Gillum Center, November 27th. They take on Missouri at 6 p.m. Admissions free. You can get more information at OleMissSports.com, and you can still get a 2019 Men's Hoops SEC Mini Plan. It's on sale now for just $175. Receive a ticket to all 9 SEC games, all 9 home SEC games this season in the Pavilion. Visit OleMissTix.com. Get your SEC Mini Plan for just $175. Don't forget, we're also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com, just off Interstate 55 in Grenada, Mississippi. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com.
Plenty of lines up, plenty of content at rebelgrove.com as well, and mostly a college football show tomorrow. So come back, hang out with us, and we will talk to you then.